Welcome to Your Career Story podcast, a show that's designed for rockstar professionals looking for that extra booster shot of confidence in their careers. Whether you're trying to get clarity on a job transition, want some work-life balance inspiration, or need a strategy to snag that promotion or raise, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned startup junkie who now coaches hundreds of clients, empowering them to take back control of the job search and land their dream job. So sit back, grab a glass of wine, and prepare yourself for your weekly boost of career confidence. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Your Career Story podcast. We are in season 2, and we are talking about all things work-life balance. And today, I am so excited to bring my friend and guest on today, Bri Lamberson, where she is going to be talking to us all about how to simplify your wardrobe and take back your mornings. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes in the morning, I get overwhelmed with dressing myself and getting prepared and ready to go out the door. But Bree, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you today.
I am so pumped to be here. You're so awesome. And thanks for having me as your guest.
You're welcome. So why don't you introduce yourself? You are what I call my style expert, style guru. You're so beautiful, but you also just put this together such a beautiful outfit. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, that's so kind. Well, my name is Bri Lamberson, and I help creative entrepreneurs and busy moms and professionals look good in the clothing that they already own by simplifying. I that's like the key thing is that you have lots to wear already. So I help you style what you already have and then fill any gaps in your wardrobe and finding pieces that make the difference so that you can really feel confident and feel like you're dressing in a classic, chic, and comfortable way.
That's awesome. So we've been talking a lot on this podcast. Just this whole season has been all about work-life balance. So for you, you're obviously very busy. You're running a business, just all the different things that you've got going on in your life. What does work-life balance look like to you? How would you define that?
Wow, I love that question. So I'm really blessed in that I have a very, very supportive husband, and he is also a firefighter. So for me, naturally, my schedule is built into where he will be gone out of the house, no distractions. And if there are moms listening, and there probably are, I have to say I don't have any kids, so that also helps quite a lot. So this is like the perfect time for me to be building my business and establishing that work-life balance. And I try to stick to a routine. I try to keep my mornings pretty routine so that by virtue of having that morning routine going, I know when I need to stop. Now, I don't always do this perfectly. And I would imagine that most people struggle with work-life balance.
Yes.
But
which is why we're doing this whole season.
Oh, good. Okay. So the key thing is that I never give up. Like, if I feel like my routine and my days aren't going well, I'm like, okay, constantly trying to go back to the drawing board, check in with my husband, learn and educate myself about how I can improve. Because, there's always room for improvement. And as life changes, my routines and my habits are going to need to change. And things look different. Like when you have, for me, when I'm in the middle of a launch like I am right now versus when I'm not. So I'll be pushing a little bit harder on some days and relaxing, more on other days. And I really believe like that work-life balance is just something you have to keep trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't think we ever become. I think it just kind of happens and we kind of figure out what works for us. Every single person is a little bit different. So you talked a little bit about morning routines. What does your morning routine look like generally these days?
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm a big fan of morning routines. So to be honest with you, because I really don't want to be a liar, pants on fire, but I have got myself kind of in a rut with my phone. So this is something I'm trying to work on and educate myself on. So even though I check my phone when I wake up, I still maintain other aspects of my morning routine. So I wake up in the morning, usually by an alarm or sometimes just naturally because I'm a morning person. And I will get up, brush my teeth, put the kettle on for tea, take my dog out so he can go to the bathroom, then bring him back in. We've got him settled down. He snuggles up in a little cinnamon roll, and I get my tea, my journal, and I drink water. I am a huge water drinker, and I drink reverse osmosis water.
Oh,
and
what's that?
It's basically just a super purified kind of clean water that I get from my local health food store. So we have like a little canteen in our kitchen, and I'll fill up a water bottle that's 1.5 liters. And my goal is to drink 2 of those a day. And it just really helps me because I like to stay, I hope this isn't TMI, but I like to have clear skin and regular life,
Yes. I know what you're saying. Yes.
Yes. And so I like sitting down with my tea, my water, my journal. And so usually what I'll do is I'll journal a little bit or write a to-do list, and then I do my devotions, and that can be different depending on what I'm studying or working through, and pray, and then just get my day started and go for it.
Do you notice a difference between when you do that versus don't do that?
100%. 100%.
What's the difference look like?
So usually I will, if I skip that, and it's rare, I really feel like my whole attitude towards people and life just gets upside down. Like, I'm not as patient. I'm not as kind. I feel like I'm striving more, and that I'm trying to make things happen on my own terms, and feel like I can't go to God for help. So if I have that connection time in the morning and kind of like remind myself, hey, you know where your power and your strength comes from.
Right.
Then
it changes everything. 100%.
It's like, it's an incentive in and of itself just to connect with him, because I'm like, okay, it keeps me, I always think about Gollum for some reason from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Wait, tell me why.
I don't know. I just think I think of myself sometimes being like Gollum when I don't have that centered time with the Lord, where I'm like, my precious, I turn into this little creature that's just like out, that may not be true for everybody, but yeah.
I think that's super helpful, because I find for myself, I've been out of that rut for quite some time and not having that rhythm. And I've noticed that the rest of my day feels like scattered and all over the place versus the days when I do have that morning routine. So I was just curious kind of how yours came to be. But talk to us a little bit about, I'd even just love to hear, how did you fall into what you're doing now? And what would you describe it really to be? Would you call yourself a stylist, or what kind of phrase would you use to describe your work?
Such a good question, because there is a distinction. There are different kinds of stylists. I'm a personal stylist, so I work one-on-one with women, some men. And then there are editorial and fashion stylists, which is amazing, and I love what they do. I've never done editorial work, maybe once. So my passion is to work with women, real life women who are moms, who are career oriented, who are stay-at-home moms. I also love working with entrepreneurs and creatives, speakers, authors. And so what I do kind of was birthed out of my love of art. My background is in art. And I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and studied all different kinds of things there. And so when I moved from Chicago to Knoxville, I got a job working at a consignment shop. And
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I've always loved style and fashion. It's always been incredibly important to me, but it's not just style. It was like the whole package, the photography, the art, the hair, the makeup, everything. And when I got this job at a consignment shop, I didn't know what I wanted to do as a career. I thought I wanted to maybe go back to school for health coaching. So I did that for a while. And what I didn't realize is that for the 4 years I worked at this consignment store, I built up an incredibly loyal and kind and generous and loving group of women who would come to the store just to be styled by me. But I didn't know that was a job. I didn't know that was a real thing. I thought I was just working retail.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So it really was like an eye opener when I started working with Jeff Goins, who you know, and joined his mastermind, and was actually doing
He's the best.
He really is the best.
He is the best. I met him at a book signing. I stalked him. Talk about networking 101. Like, I'd been following him for years, like online. Like, I lived in New York City and I'd been following him. I have no idea how I stumbled across him. Was kind of when he first started to become more popular. I think it was before his like book came out. I think that's when I was following him. And when I think the second book came out, Real Artists Don't Starve. So I'm not sure what number or order that is.
I think that's like 4 or maybe 5.
Okay. I'm totally off on numbers. Sorry, Jeff. But when that one came out, I saw that he was at the Barnes & Noble down the street from me. And that's how I met him. I went and stalked him.
Oh, I love that. That's
so we become friends because of that. But anyways, I digress. So that's another way that you've worked with him before.
Yes. And so, I mean, I love that. And yes, Jeff is the best. He is so awesome. And when he started this mastermind, I was still health coaching. And
okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, who wants to do the hot seat in the mastermind? If you've ever been in a mastermind, you know how that goes.
Yep.
So I was like, I need to go. And, they put me up there on the hot seat. And I said, I feel torn between something that I secretly love and think I'm really great at versus something that I also really love, but I don't think I'm that great at it. Because coaching, and especially health coaching, requires a really, really specific set of skills. And if you want to develop those skills, you need adequate and sufficient passion to pursue it. And I just felt like I kept hitting these walls. And so they were like, why don't you try for a year to set aside your health coaching and pursue with all of your might styling? And the fact that they gave me permission to do that was the very best thing that I've ever done in my whole life.
I love that.
It was so much fun. And like during that time, I had listened to a Marie Forleo episode with Chris Guillebeau, and he said, sometimes quitting is the right thing to do. Like you'll hear the advice, winners never quit or whatever. And he was like, that's not true. Sometimes you need to know when it's not working and if your heart is really in it. And I was like, oh, that just hit me through the heart,
Yeah.
And I said, it is time for me to quit this for a minute. And I haven't looked back. I still love health and wellness. It's still a passion of mine, but I would not say it's like the thing I was created to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally relate to that. I think there are some things in my business where I've wanted to pivot in a different direction. I was too scared to quit. And I'm so glad that I ended up quitting that, whatever that thing was for me, because it I was actually getting truer to what I believe I wanted to be doing, right? So like whatever I felt like I would have thrived in and what I was super passionate about, that's really what you should be gravitating towards because it's going to make work feel a lot more fulfilling.
It's true. And if you have a natural desire for it and the market has a place for you and you still don't know everything you need to know, that's okay. You can learn. You'll have the passion to learn what you need to learn. And because I'm sure you know this, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. And
it's not. No, it's not at all.
And it can be really taxing just on so many different levels and yet so rewarding. But if you have the hunger and the desire to pursue a certain kind of career even or be an entrepreneur, if you don't know all that you need to know, you can learn it. But if you have that passion as that fuel, you'll totally get there.
I totally agree with you. So you specialize in working with people one-on-one, right? So talk to us about a little bit when you work with people and they get into clothing ruts. Like, how do we even get to that point? Because I feel like I've been in it since I moved from New York City, which anything goes. You could wear pajamas and someone would tell you it's like super fashionable, right?
And they do, and they do,
and it looks super fashionable, right? Yeah. And then you move to Nashville, and I wear a lot of black in New York too, I would say. A lot of black and then some pops of color. But when I moved here, the style is totally different in Nashville. It's much more casual. I can find myself wearing more athleisure type stuff all the time. So my question to you becomes, how do you get into a clothing rut? Like, how do we actually get there?
Well, I would say that most people's lives are really busy and crazy, and they don't really have the bandwidth to know. They don't have the bandwidth to change it up every day. And so they also believe that maybe their style is one thing and it's really not, or they have 2 or 3 different ideas of what they think their style really is. So I see this all the time with my clients. Whether I'm working virtually or in person, when we look inside their closet, I will usually see a distinct delineation between 2 to 3 different styles. And so the thing is, when you step up to your wardrobe in the morning and it's confusing, your mind automatically says, no, I don't know what to wear. So I'm going to wear the thing that I know I feel good in, that is comfortable, and that looks pretty decent on me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that. I think I use probably 20% of my closet, if that. And there's a ton of stuff in here. I'm actually recording this in my closet. We were kind of joking about that beforehand because it's got good padding for me who doesn't have a studio yet. But I look around at all this stuff and I'm like, I don't wear half of these things. Like, I really don't.
Yes. And so that's a very good point that I want to pull out a little bit, is that I also hear my clients say that they feel a little bit embarrassed or ashamed that they wear the same things. And I want to just set some people free, and you today, that there's no shame in wearing similar or even the exact same thing daily or multiple times in a week. It's okay. Like, no one is judging you for doing that. And it's fine if you do that, as long as you feel like it's very stylish and you feel very comfortable in it. That's actually a trick that many people in the fashion industry use, is that they adopt a signature style, or they have what I like to call a uniform, and they create different variations upon that.
So uniform, you make a really great point. So I think about from like a work perspective, right? So I have a lot of people that are listening that are 9-to-5ers, and I have some entrepreneurs. So I think that work closet or that uniform looks a little different for both parties. Do you have any recommendations for the people that are in more 9-to-5 type roles of like how to curate that kind of capsule or that uniform that you were just speaking about?
For sure. 100%. And so the big difference that I hear is like entrepreneurs that they struggle with is the yoga pant thing.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other
I've actually
thing.
been pretty good about that too. I got to admit, I'm the queen of, I need to get myself into something cute, because then I will actually work more efficiently versus if I'm in like all my sweats. Like, you'll have those days just like you would any other job, but I am very diligent about not falling into the yoga pant trap. So I relate to that though.
I love that. And I agree with you. I really do, because you respond to the clothing that you wear, not just in how you show up in the world, but even just physically, you respond to the clothing that you wear. And when you put on something really nice and you see yourself in the mirror, or when you interact with people, it's almost like a trigger to remind you, this is my goal, this is my objective, and you just go forward. And so for 9-to-5 people, what I would say is, if you want to make it simplified, and this advice could apply to a man or a woman, you need to have the key, like the foundation of your wardrobe is to have a very nice suit. You need to have a very well-made, high-quality suit. And that doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money on it, because you can find great deals anywhere you go. But you need to invest in a solid suit. And I would recommend something that complements you, whether that would be black or navy or even like charcoal gray, because around this foundation, you can build lots of outfits that can go very professional or more casual. But the first thing I would always ask my clients is, what's the atmosphere and dress code like where you work? Because not everybody works in a super corporate, you must be dressed professionally.
Sure. The idea of business casual has evolved over time. Like, even when I worked at the New York Stock Exchange, I did not wear like a suit. Granted, I was younger, and so I wasn't in front of clients a lot of the time. But even still, I mean, a lot of those folks are not, the men are in suits more often, but the women, that's still very fluid. Women can get away with a lot more in the workplace. So you're saying that just to have the basics would be to have the classic, like one classic, maybe suit dress, or if it's a super corporate environment, or, a suit if it's a man.
Yeah, I think for women, it's going to be a little more complicated, because we have different needs. Like, we have different body shapes and sizes. So if you're listening and you absolutely hate pants, then get a really lovely dress, or get a suit that is a skirt set. Yeah. So you can find different styles of skirts. If you don't like pencil skirts, you don't have to do a pencil skirt. If you are like, I'm not a skirt person, then get a really well-tailored dress and a blazer. and you want to work with somebody that understands your proportions and understands, your specific body, because having a suit and even a dress tailored to your body, men and women, is going to make the difference in your wardrobe forever.
That's
forever.
So interesting. I've never gotten anything tailored unless it was like a prom dress. There's very few times that I've gone to the tailor, but that's a really good point. I've never thought about that because I have problems with, if I'm a more pear shape, if you will, if you want to use so I've got really, really tiny waist and I have a little bit more junk in the trunk. And so with that in mind, there's a lot of stuff that gets really funkily fitting on me, right? I'm tall too, so it's always just a pain in the butt. But I've never thought about going to a tailor. So that's part of what you recommend is really finding a classic pieces to start off your morning. What about color palettes?
Okay, so with color palettes, again, if you're going to be investing in a dress, a skirt, a blazer, or a pair of slacks and a blazer, keep the colors very, very neutral. You don't want to go beige. Ladies, don't invest in a beige suit. Don't do it.
No beige suit. That will be out of style. Yeah.
And no white. I really believe that if you have this foundational piece of having black, navy, charcoal, something like that, you can add in more of your personality with the different things that you do to style it. So whether that would be having a blouse or having an Oxford style shirt that you change up the color, you can add, for women, you would focus on your shoes, your belt, your handbag, your necklace, your earrings, your makeup even, or your nails. For men, you can have your tie clip, the little thing that sticks out of your pocket. I forget the name. Your belt, your shoes. So there's lots of options to incorporate your unique
style.
Yeah, your unique personality. Now, if you're going to do smart casual, there's even more options. So
yeah,
it's kind of endless there.
So what do you do to make someone simplify? So in the morning, if I remember when I was working on Wall Street, it was like a zoom, I got to get out the door. Do you suggest certain ways to simplify? I know we talked a little bit about pieces, but what about the actual physical space in the closet? Are there any tips to do you recommend putting the clothes out the night before? I mean, I'm just trying to simplify my mornings as fast as possible, being efficient because I'm an Enneagram 3 and I love to be efficient.
Yes.
But do you have any suggestions on that?
I love Enneagram 3s. By the way, I'm not one. I think I'm a 9 with an 8 wing, but yes, I have great tips. First of all, most people do not have their closets set up for success in any way, shape, or form. I actually have a free guide that will help you with that.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes then.
Yes.
The link to that.
You need to get that because it will help you out a lot. So it's going to require you to put a little bit more time on the front end, but on the back end, you'll save a bunch of time. So let me illustrate this point by telling you about one of my clients, Susie. She works for a college here in Tennessee, and she is a fundraiser. She was constantly running late and missing her gym appointment in the mornings because she didn't know what to wear. So what we did is we did a wardrobe edit for her. We got rid of all the stuff that wasn't working. We organized it in the way that I teach in that guide. And we set up this little you'll love this because you're a 3, but you don't have to do this. This is just a fun extra tip. But we set up a tiny little dry erase board in her closet, and she would mark out Monday through Friday, and she would she would actually say, this is what I'm going to wear each day. And because we had styled dozens and dozens of outfits, she knew what paired together. And so she would just say okay, so from Monday I can wear this thing and I can transition that into Tuesday. So if you are a chef or an at-home cook, or you've done ever meal planning or meal prep, then you can kind of batch cook things and then mold those into different meals throughout the week. It's very similar to dressing. So you can wear the same things multiple times in different ways throughout the week without having to create all these new outfits. And so she would just write it out in the morning, and it ended up making such a huge difference for her that she's lost 10 or 15 pounds, something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because she was going to the gym. She was packing her bag the night before. And Yes, it's been incredible. She also made $2,500 from selling the clothes that we got rid of in her closet.
Talk to me about that, because you are all about that life. And I just want to know your secrets to your success on that, because it feels overwhelming also for me. I'm like, I have a zillion things I have to do. How can I fit that in on top of trying to plan out my outfits and all that kind of stuff?
Right. Well, okay. So the thing is, this is what I love to do for my clients. So if you don't have the time, that's why you would work with someone like me. If you've got a little bit more time on your hands, the very best place to start is if you have a little bit of time, but not a ton of time, I would say you need to check out 2 places. One is called The Real Real for more designer, kind of high-end, nicer things. And then the second one is called Thread Up. These are 2 companies that will send you a prepaid bag. You put all the stuff that you don't want in the bag. You send it to them. They do all the work.
Okay. So that's who you would recommend. I do think that I need to hire you to get me to get this place purged out.
I would love that. I would love that.
So she did all that. So talk to me a little bit also about, like, with regards to conscious living. So you were talking about how you went to health coaching. Did that kind of help inform the way that you look at fashion in general? Because there's a lot of conversations nowadays about fast fashion, and you mentioned kind of buying better, more quality pieces versus, you know, the run of the mill, what's in this season, or the whatever they do, like 5 or 6 seasons in a year, and I think like Zara does like 12 or something ridiculous. More. Yeah, even more than that. Is it really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think places like Zara, they will literally have a collection almost every week of the year.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. So tell me a little bit about why you're passionate about conscious living, how that informs kind of clothes, and how we can potentially implement that to free up our brain space, if you will, when it comes to clothes. Because I think it goes hand in hand.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think that my background, having spent some time abroad as a kid, my mom and I lived in Germany for a short time, just seeing the difference of lifestyle versus how they have a more holistic approach to living than they do in the United States. I love being in the US, and we do a lot of things really well, but there's a couple of things that, you know, we just kind of missed the mark on. And I think one of them is that we have so much available at our fingertips that we don't really know how to say stop.
Sure.
We produce so much clothing and we consume so much clothing. And so one of the things that I love to help my clients do is to really, first of all, you have to figure out your style.
How do you do that though? Because I feel like that's a very overwhelming thought. I think I kind of like doing that for my clothes, but I know for me, when I think about like my interior design, that type of style, I have zero clue. So I know that people probably feel that way about style. I'm thinking of a couple people in my head. How do you figure that out?
Well, okay. So, you know, let me just say really quick, you have to figure out your personal style first, and then you have to purge what is not your style. Then you have to learn how to style what you already have. Because the thing is, we get addicted to wanting something new, and new things aren't bad, but chances are you just would be amazed at how much you actually have to wear in your own closet if you learn to style it, you know? So my passion is to help my clients and my students create a closed loop system in their wardrobe. So as they begin to figure out their personal style more and more, and they start to add in new pieces that are high quality and will last a long time, then they purge and sell what isn't working for them. They make more money back, then they reinvest that into their wardrobe.
Okay.
And so it's just this closed loop thing. But to figure out your personal style is actually pretty easy. If you're not a very stylish person, not everyone that I work with is, and that's fine. It's, you know, not a requirement of life. But I would say you need to start consuming things that inspire you. So magazines, movies, TV shows, looking at people on the street. There's a reason why you were saying in New York, anything goes and people are very stylish. It's because it's this kind of melting pot where everyone sees everyone and they're inspired by each other, and little micro trends emerge, and there's just this different atmosphere. So it's like if you want to learn a language, you need to immerse yourself in it, and style is very similar. So have you seen that movie Runaway Bride?
I love that movie. Yes.
Okay, my favorite scene is when she's like, I have to try all the eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good scene.
Yeah, because she doesn't know what she really likes.
Sure.
You have to do that with style. You have to immerse yourself in the different tastes, and everybody does have like a baseline of understanding what their taste is, because you're going to immediately react to punk rock. You know, if you love it, you're going to be like, I love punk rock. If you hate it, you're going to be like, this is horrible. I'm never going to wear that. Yeah. You know, some people might be like, I'm super into Joanna Gaines. I want to look just like her. Other people would be like, that's too kind of, artsy or whatever. So you have an instinct already. You just need to pull it out and hone it. So my favorite question to ask, and I'm going to ask this question to you, so be ready, because I might stump you. So this is the question I ask everybody, and this is it. Of any person, living or dead, famous or non-famous, man or woman, fictional or non-fictional, who best represents the style that you most want to have?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think young Jenna would have said Audrey Hepburn. Because that was cliche and quintessential. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I have to think about that.
Yeah, it does stump people. So when you figure that out, what you want to do is start to hop on Pinterest and start looking up pictures of these people.
Interesting. Probably a little Blake Lively. There's probably, if I could be honest, I love her. Like, she's very spunky and daring. And so I think there's probably a mix of her with some, like, somebody that's a little bit less overstated.
Yeah, I can see you pulling off Blake Lively. For sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
She's one of my style icons too. I love her hair. She's my hairstyle icon.
You guys both have similar hair. Hers is just blonde and yours is this beautiful brunette. Yes, 100%.
So if you can't think of a style icon, here's my advice to you. Think of an iconic style. So some people are really into French style, or some people are very much into Swedish or Scandinavian style. Some people are like, I love the 1920s. Yeah. That was the style. I love the 1960s. Yeah. So think about those kinds of things, and you'll really start to see that you have a taste, you have a style. You just need to pull it out more.
I love that. That is so good. That's just good wisdom to even just try to figure out like what it is that you assimilate or are attracted to. Because you're right, even if you're not super quote unquote stylish as you would consider for yourself, there is things that you gravitate towards.
Absolutely.
That is super cool. Awesome. So I want to chat a little bit kind of to wrap us up about how you create a dream wardrobe. We kind of touched on it a little bit. And what do you recommend a person do first if they're trying to revamp their closet?
Okay.
I know that's like a very loaded question, and I know there's probably a zillion things that they can do. But what are like a couple like first easy steps so that they can like take their mornings back, really feel like they have a simplified wardrobe?
Okay, well, that's just listening to this podcast and implementing everything that you've heard. Yeah. Figuring out your personal style, number one. Number two is clearing out the things that aren't working for you, that you just know aren't working. Okay, like if it doesn't fit, if it's old, if it's broken or damaged, just get rid of it. And then you really need to try to get a couple of, I would say 3 to 4 outfits together. Like schedule some time on Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, if you're a 9-to-5er, and spend some time experimenting and playing.
I love that. Just play. That's a great. That's a great to do.
You need to dress up, and you need to style some outfits in yourself and really step back and like, how do I feel in this? Does this work for me? Does it not work for me? And then, there are so many resources out there. I have tons of resources myself. This is what I help people do. I help them fill in the gaps in their wardrobe and style these looks, find the resources, find the places to shop. And the thing is, once you've got your mindset on this and you are creating a few staple outfits, a few uniforms, it's going to flow. You're gonna get there. But
and I feel like it impacts your confidence too. Like at work, for sure.
Of course it does. I actually have, so one of my clients is an aspiring actress, and she got a part because of how she was dressed.
Really?
Yes. So she showed up to this audition and she took all of the techniques that I taught in my style course, Simple Style. And she was going to this audition. She was super nervous. And they said after the audition, they never speak to the actors afterwards. They said, we just want to say to you that we see that you put a lot of effort into dressing up for this audition. And we really, really respected that.
That is amazing.
Yeah. She said that because she felt so confident in what she was wearing, it must have translated through to her audition, and she ended up getting the part.
I even think about that with people in the boardroom, right? Like if I actually have a perfect example of this. You'll get a kick out of it. I think I've told this story potentially on this podcast before, but I was applying for my investment banking job. And I didn't know what to wear to my interview. It was my very first interview I pretty much ever went on that was a very serious one. It was for a bank. I didn't have like a suit. I don't think I had a suit outfit at that time. And I asked my friend, I said, what should I wear? And she goes, you need to wear this. And she gives me one of her dresses. And it was like this sheath dress. It cut me. It was very body hugging, which I did not feel comfortable. I was not comfortable in my body at that time. And that was just no good. And it was like cutting my neck off. It was terrible. It was terrible, Bree. And I remember going down to my professor at Lehigh, and I'm actually still friends with this professor. It's awesome. But I remember crying to her and be like, I just feel so uncomfortable. And she goes, go back up to your dorm room, go change into something you're more comfortable in. I don't care if it doesn't look as professional, but you need to be comfortable for this interview. And that's what she told me. And I went down to the interview and I got the job. I don't think I would have gotten the job otherwise because I was so anxious about how I felt in that outfit. And I mean, I totally relate to the idea of if you feel good and you feel like confident in what you're wearing, that's going to translate in the boardroom. It's going to translate when you're giving a presentation. It's going to translate when you have to like let somebody go potentially when you're managing people. It's going to translate when you have to have a difficult conversation at work. So I am 100% on board with that.
It's so true because it's not just about how you feel as well. It's about how people perceive you.
So good.
And they can feel your confidence. They can feel your comfort. And the thing that I want to say that will probably encourage a lot of people listening is stylish clothing is comfortable clothing.
Ooh, that is good. That's very freeing.
Yeah, because so many people I hear say, I want to be comfortable, therefore I'm not going to be stylish.
Yeah, that's a cop-out.
That doesn't work that way. If you're uncomfortable, then you're not stylish. Suffering for fashion it's not a real thing. That really only happens on the runway because it's an art form. But for the day-to-day, you need to look good and you need to feel good at the same time. And you can do that. You can totally do that.
I love that. That's very freeing. I even think about, that's an often excuse that people have, but you're right. If you feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean it's just, it doesn't mean it can't be stylish at the same time to be comfortable and stylish at the same time. I think that's great. So if people want to get connected to you, how can they do that? How can they get there? You'd mentioned a couple of things before that you kind of offer. We're going to put these things in the show notes, but can you just share with the audience a little bit about how they can get connected with you?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel, which is just Bri Lamberson, and you can find me there. I also have a newsletter, which I am really, really, really keen on including private tips for people who are on that newsletter. So you can also get that free guide I was talking about, learning how to revamp your wardrobe. So if you want to dip your toe in the water and get started revamping your wardrobe, I totally recommend this guide. It's basically 10 closet mistakes you're making and how to fix them. And you can find that guide at briannalamberson.com/mistakes.
Okay, we're going to have all this stuff in the show notes. Bree, thank you so much. I've got a lot out of this, and now you're inspiring me that my closet that I'm currently surrounded by needs to be revamped. We might have to have a conversation after this.
Yes, girl, yes. You're amazing. This has been the most fun ever, and I love being able to share this with you and your listeners.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, friends, this was another episode of the Your Career Story podcast. We will see you next time for the rest of season 2. Thanks. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for listening to Your Career Story podcast. I would love to get to meet you. And there are a couple of ways that we can connect in between episodes. First and foremost, you know I love my LinkedIn. Second is via Instagram. And third is over on my website. I actually have a special spot just for you full of fun, free resources. So all you have to do is go to www.jennaviviano.com/resources. Super simple for a bunch of freebies that will help you boost your career. Hope to see you next week.